The empty stalls. The day begins like any other in appearance, yet a heaviness clings to the air as if the city itself knows what is missing. People move through the streets with hurried steps, clutching empty baskets, their eyes scanning for shops that once promised abundance. The stalls of the marketplace, once overflowing with bread, fruit, and oil, now stand hollow, their counters scarred by the absence of supply. Where there used to be the hum of bargaining and laughter, there is only the low murmur of hunger and the shuffle of restless feet. Mothers stand in lines that stretch the length of alleys, their children pressed close to their sides, their faces pale and weary. Fathers calculate silently how long the last portion of grain at home will last. The smell of dust replaces the aroma of spices, and the sound of coins clinking together feels meaningless, for there is little left to buy. Even those who still carry money in their pockets discover that wealth cannot conjure bread from an empty stall. The tension is unspoken, but felt in every glass. A man looks over his shoulder, uncertain if he will leave the line with food or with nothing at all. Whispers move through the crowd. Shipments delayed, warehouses sealed, new rules announced at the checkpoints. Each rumor adds weight to the silence, pressing down until even children sense that something far greater than hunger stalks the marketplace. As the hours drag, the lines do not shorten, and the shadows of buildings creep across faces drained of hope. A woman clutches a small loaf against her chest, not to eat but to guard from the desperate eyes around her. The crowd stiffens when soldiers pass by, their boots striking the pavement with mechanical certainty. They do not speak, but their presence is louder than words. The market belongs no longer to merchants, but to power. Hunger is more than an empty stomach. It gnaws at dignity. It unsettles reason. It tempts the soul towards despair. And in this place, where stalls once overflowed, the people wait with the hollow patience of those who know they have no choice. The marketplace has become an altar of scarcity, and every face reflects the silent prayer for bread that no one knows if they will receive.
The watchful eyes. The silence of hunger is broken by the rhythm of boots. Soldiers move through the marketplace in measured steps, their rifles resting across their chests, their eyes scanning the restless lines of people. They do not need to speak, for their presence alone is command enough. Every glance from a uniform carries the weight of authority, and the crowd bends beneath it, avoiding eye contact, lowering their voices to whispers. Above the stalls, cameras swivel on their mounts, following movements with the cold patience of machines. Screens flicker with government messages, reminders of loyalty, warnings against dissent. A voice echoes from loudspeakers, promising order if the people remain compliant, promising safety if the people accept the new seal of identification. The words are calm, rehearsed, almost soothing, yet their effect is chilling, for behind each syllable lies the threat of exclusion. Those who carry the sign move with a strange confidence. They step through lines quickly, their transactions approved, their goods handed to them with mechanical ease. Those without it linger longer, their faces pale, their futures uncertain. The difference is visible to all, and the unspoken message presses on the conscience. Take the mark, or hunger will teach you obedience. Children notice before their parents admit it aloud. They tug on sleeves and ask why some walk away with bread while others leave empty-handed. Mothers hush them quickly, casting nervous glances toward the soldiers, toward the cameras, toward the officials who watch every motion with calculating eyes. Fathers press their lips together, caught between fear and defiance, between the need to feed their family and the call to remain faithful. The market, once a place of exchange, has become a place of judgment. Every purchase is now a test of allegiance, every coin a question of loyalty. The people sense that the line between survival and surrender is being redrawn, and that soon no one will pass through these stalls without bearing the mark of submission. In the stillness between footsteps and announcements, the Scripture whispers to those who remember. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark. Revelation 13. The prophecy has stepped from the page into the street, and its shadow now falls over every waiting soul.
The mother's burden. Among the weary faces in the line stands a mother, her children pressed against her sides, as if her body itself could shield them from the world unraveling around them. She holds a basket in her hands, though she knows it may return to her home as empty as when she carried it here. Every step forward in the line feels heavier than the last, for it is not only her stomach that aches, but the small voices that whisper at her side, asking when food will come. Her eyes trace the soldiers pacing along the market edge, the cameras above that watch without rest, the merchants who glance uneasily at each customer, as though weighing not money but loyalty. She has heard the rumors that a mark must soon be shown, that the choice will no longer be between bread and hunger, but between Christ and compromise. She prays silently that the rumors remain rumors, yet in her heart she knows the moment is near. The burden she carries is not only the hunger of her children, but the fear of failing them. Each cough from the youngest pierces her resolve. Each tired sigh from the oldest gnaws at her spirit. She remembers nights when bread was abundant, when laughter echoed in the home, when the thought of faith costing everything seemed distant. Now the cost stands at the door of the market, and she wonders if her strength will endure. Around her, other mothers shift uncomfortably, clutching their little ones as if to hide them from the gaze of power. Fathers stare at the ground, weighing decisions they wish they could avoid. The line creeps forward, but the heart of the woman feels trapped between two worlds, the visible world of soldiers and scarcity, and the unseen kingdom that promises reward for those who endure. She whispers verses to herself under her breath, fragments of psalms that she memorized long ago, words of trust that she repeats like a lifeline. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Her children look up, sensing her quiet prayer, even if they do not fully understand it. In their eyes she sees both innocence and need, a reflection of the very reason her heart trembles. The burden of a mother is heavier than baskets of grain. It is the weight of choosing between the immediate cry of hunger and the eternal promise of faith. With each shuffle forward in the line, she feels that moment approaching, the moment when her answer will not remain hidden inside her thoughts, but will stand revealed before the watching eyes of men and angels alike.
The moment of demand. The line shuffles forward until the mother finds herself face to face with the stall. The counter is bare, save for a few loaves stacked like treasures under watchful eyes. The merchant's hands linger over them with hesitation, as though each piece of bread has become more valuable than gold. He glances at her, then at the children at her side, and his expression tightens. Behind him, a soldier shifts his weight, the metal of his weapon catching the dim light. Another soldier surveys the crowd, his gaze resting on each person with the cold suspicion of one trained to find disobedience. The silence is thick enough to crush words before they are spoken. People hold their breath, waiting, listening, knowing what must come. The merchant clears his throat and points not to her basket, but to her hand. His voice is low, almost apologetic, but firm enough to pierce the silence. The mark. He gestures again, this time sharper, the tremor of fear in his tone betraying that he, too, is trapped in this system. Around them, the line stiffens. No one moves. No one dares to speak. The only sound is the distant hum of the loudspeakers repeating their endless litany of order and compliance. The woman feels her heart pounding in her chest. Her children's eyes turn upward, searching her face for reassurance, unaware of the eternal weight pressing upon her. The bread is close enough to touch, yet it has become unreachable, chained to a demand she cannot grant. The merchant looks at her again, his eyes pleading with her to yield, not for his sake, but for the fragile illusion of peace that keeps the crowd from breaking. Every gaze in the market seems fixed on this one exchange. The soldiers' fingers tighten on their rifles. A child coughs somewhere on the line, the sound echoing like thunder through the stillness. The woman opens her mouth, but no words come. Her mind races with prayers, with scriptures, with fragments of hymns that once filled her home with peace. The moment is no longer about bread or hunger. It has become the dividing line between faith and surrender, between the unseen kingdom and the demands of the present age. The air grows heavy, as if heaven itself leans close to witness her choice. The silence of the crowd deepens, for they know that what happens here will echo far beyond one stall in a broken marketplace.
The child's cry. The tension shatters not with the shout of a soldier, but with the soft, trembling voice of a child. The youngest at her side tugs at her sleeve, his eyes fixed on the bread stacked just beyond his reach. His words fall like a knife into the silence. "Mama, can I have some?" The sound is too pure for such a place, too innocent for the weight of a decision that carries eternal consequence. The mother feels her knees weaken, as though the ground itself has given way beneath her. She pulls the child close, but he struggles against her arm, still reaching for the bread. Tears gather in his eyes, not from understanding, but from hunger, from the sharp pain in his belly that has no patience for prophecy or principle. The crowd shifts uneasily, their faces turned away, unwilling to watch a choice that mirrors the one they dread will soon be theirs. Even the merchant lowers his eyes, as if ashamed to be the gatekeeper of such suffering. Yet the soldiers remain still, their gaze unblinking, their presence a wall between compassion and defiance. The mother's vision blurs as tears rise, spilling down her cheeks unchecked. Her children see the tears and fall silent, their small hands clutching her dress, sensing that this moment is larger than their hunger. She wants to scream, to tear through the silence with a cry of defiance or despair, but the words die on her lips. The only sound is her sobs mingled with the quiet whimper of her child, echoing across the market like a hymn of sorrow. In that instant, time feels suspended. The bread is still there, the soldiers still waiting, the crowd still silent. But the true drama has moved inward, into the heart of a mother torn between the pleading eyes of her children and the unshakable command of her faith. The weight of eternity presses down upon the fragile cry of a child, and the mother's tears fall to the dust like offerings on an altar she never chose to build. The word remembered. In the blur of tears and the ache of hunger, a fragment of memory rises within her like a whisper carried on the wind. It is not the voice of the merchant, nor the watchful command of the soldiers, but a verse once learned in gentler days, now returning with unshakable clarity. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God.
The words fall into her heart with a weight stronger than the demand for a mark, stronger than the cry of her stomach, even stronger than the pleading eyes of her children. She remembers the story of Christ in the wilderness, facing the same temptation to trade obedience for satisfaction. He had no loaves in his hands, no comfort for his body, yet he carried within himself a feast of trust in his Father. That memory steadies her trembling hands. The marketplace fades for a moment, as though its noise and fear are pushed back by a greater presence. She sees not the bread in the stall, but the bread of life promised to all who believe. The tears still fall, but now they carry not only sorrow, but strength, for she knows her hunger is not the final word. She lifts her eyes, not to the merchant or the soldiers, but upward, silently declaring with every fiber of her being that her allegiance is already sealed, not by ink or by mark, but by the blood of the Lamb. Her children sense the change in her, the way her grip steadies, the way her breath deepens. Though they do not understand the scripture on her lips, they feel the courage it breathes into the air around them. The crowd continues to watch, uncertain, silent. But in the mother's heart, the decision has been made. She will not bow. She will not trade eternal life for temporary bread. The hunger may remain, but so will the promise. In the moment of greatest weakness, she has remembered the word that cannot be broken, the word that sustains more surely than any loaf.
The walk away. The mother's fingers tighten around the basket, though it remains as empty as when she first stepped into the market. She exhales slowly, her tears still fresh, but her face now steadied by resolve. She does not speak, for no defense is required, only the courage to turn her body away from what the world insists she must have. With a single step backward, she breaks the spell of silence, and the crowd leans in as if the earth itself has tilted under the weight of her decision. The merchant lowers his eyes, unwilling to meet hers, ashamed by the demand he was forced to give. The soldiers remain still, yet their watchful gaze follows her every move, ready to brand her as defiant. Yet she does not tremble now. What once felt like unbearable weakness has been replaced by a strange and steady strength, as if unseen hands have lifted her shoulders and carried part of her burden. Her children cling to her, confused by the absence of bread, yet sensing the firmness of her steps. They whisper questions, but she cannot answer them here, not in the presence of cameras and rifles. She only holds them closer, her embrace itself a vow that though she may leave with nothing in her hands, she carries everything in her faith. The line parts to let her pass, and for a moment the entire marketplace feels caught between fear and awe. Some avert their eyes, afraid to be associated with such defiance. Others stare, their own consciences stirred, wondering if they too will be asked to make the same choice, and whether they will have the strength to walk away. The emptiness of her basket is undeniable, yet the fullness of her soul is even greater. In losing bread, she has gained a crown unseen. In leaving hunger unresolved, she has preserved the feast of eternity. The contrast is sharp, yet in the light of heaven, her loss is no loss at all. The marketplace resumes its rhythm as she disappears into the crowd, her figure small against the weight of the city. But her choice lingers, echoing louder than any soldier's command, louder than the cries of the hungry, even louder than the silence of fear. For in turning away, she has declared to all who watched that the soul is worth more than bread, and that eternity is worth more than survival.
The eternal bread.
When the mother stepped away from the stall, her basket empty but her soul unbroken, she revealed a truth that echoes beyond the marketplace. Bread can fill the stomach for a day, yet the bread of life sustains forever. What the world counts as loss, heaven records as victory. And what looks like weakness in the eyes of men is written as strength in the book of eternity. Jesus himself declared, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall never hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst." The promise of the crown of life belongs to those who endure, those who choose faith when the cost seems unbearable, those who walk away from temporary gain to hold fast to eternal glory. The story of the woman and her children is not only hers, it is the story of every believer who will stand in the hour of testing. It is the story of faith pressed in the fire, of courage found not in human strength, but in the Spirit who gives life. Her tears became her testimony, and her refusal became her crown. For those who listen today, the question remains, what will you cling to when the world demands your surrender? Will you take comfort in what perishes, or will you seek the eternal bread that no soldier can seize and no hunger can diminish? These words are not only a prophecy of what may come, they are an invitation to decide now where your faith rests. If this message has touched your heart, let it bear fruit beyond this moment. Share it so that others may find courage. Write your thoughts in the comments, for your voice may strengthen another soul. Subscribe, not for numbers, but so that this word may reach those who are searching tonight for hope in the middle of their fear. I pray that peace would rest upon you, that courage would rise within you, and that the love of Christ would guard your heart until the day He returns. May you walk with steady steps, carrying not only the memory of this story, but the living promise of eternal bread that never runs out. And may the crown of life spoken of in Revelation be the treasure that guides you through every trial until faith becomes sight and hope becomes everlasting joy.